There is a war being waged between Japan and China. Anime versus Donghua. On the Japanese front, we have Aniplex with their Soul Leveling series. On the Chinese front, we have Tencent launching Lord of Mysteries. A battle to see who has the most frames has begun. Who wins? Yes, us viewers. Without a doubt, there is a lot of money and marketing being pushed into Lord of Mysteries, a new series of the summer 2025 season. Rightfully so, it's a very, very popular novel series, but damn, I'm getting sick of the bots, and the clickbait is getting insane. How many damn comments did I have to scroll through after releasing my top 10 most anticipated anime of summer? Where's the LOTM? Dude, LOTM! You forgot LOTM! It's an anime list, not a Donghua list. It's produced, animated, and made in China. What, do you want me to start adding American shows too? I kid. Mostly. It's obvious that Lord of Mysteries is anime inspired. China is seeing the booming market of anime, and they want to get involved now. They're tired of just animating for A1 Pictures. They decided to do it themselves. And yes, I mostly kid. They're not all bots. You guys aren't all bots. Not all of you. Jokes aside, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't intrigued as hell when I seen the PVs for Lord of Mysteries. Put simply, it looks gorgeous. It's to ufotable levels of, like, gorgeous, minus some of the environments being a little bit too polished. Plus, the hype around the source material has my attention as well. So I dove into the first 2 episodes, and so far, I'm hooked. It's like an isekai, Fate Stay Night, Sherlock Holmes, which that's like 3 things that you tell me, and I immediately go, yes, okay, say less. It all just kind of seems right up my alley. But I have to admit that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There is some issues that I'm sure the commenters will explain. I don't know if this is an adaptation of a source material issue or a pacing issue or what. So without further ado, let's just jump right into my thoughts. Lord of Mysteries opens up with a boy who seems like they're from our world, who at some point does this luck enhancement ritual, and he finds himself transmigrated into the body of Klein. And it seems like this boy has died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, seemingly. Near him is a diary that talks about how he was deciphering a book from the 4th epoch, and additionally it has a dark message in it, that everyone will die, including me. Wanting to return back to his original world, he decides to perform the ritual again, but unfortunately it doesn't send him back to his old world. Instead it sends him to some sort of divine plane. There it seems like he's able to control reality, like produce things from it and everything. Additionally, he has 2 individuals that are brought before him, seemingly summoned before him, and the 2 of these individuals view him as almost like a god of this plane. Well, he sits down with the individuals, and over time he discovers a lot about this world of Beyonders. It's a world that individuals can unlock themselves to become Beyonders who actually wield different abilities. And these can be different types of abilities, and there's different levels of the strength of the ability itself. They're pathways to the divine, so to speak. At this point, he decides that he's going to play into this and lead these 2 individuals that seemingly want to work with him to help him with trivial matters, before he finds himself waking up back in Klein's body in that apartment. Well, at his door is some investigators that look into different supernatural issues, and additionally, yes, things caused by Beyonders. And they're currently investigating the death of Klein's 2 friends, who are both suspected of being involved in a dark divination that sacrificed a Beyonder, something that seemingly brought something evil about. After diving into Klein's mind using a Beyonder's ability, they find that he has no sort of memories in his mind that makes him involved. But additionally, they also tell him, hey, this whole thing that you were involved with that you seemingly forgot about, you're not out of danger yet, and we can't babysit you. But you could become a Beyonder and join us, which Klein actually does. This is where we get a lot of insight into this organization of Beyonders. That again, they go after supernatural issues, investigations, and again, things involving Beyonders. Additionally, being a part of this organization, he's allowed to drink 1 of 4 potions that are sort of formulas to unlocking the abilities of Beyonders. There's technically 22 different pathways of Beyonders, which think of pathways and Beyonders as sort of different classes. With this particular organization, again, they have 4 that they can unlock. This includes Seers, Corpse Collectors, Sleepless, and Mystery Priors. And I'm guessing there's going to be other ones like Hunter or Fighter or whatever. And this is where things kind of get interesting, as he's sent over to a doctor, Mr. Neil, and Mr. Neil is doing some investigation and deciphering these old texts from this previous emperor. Now, this is something that's been kind of sprinkled throughout the entire episode. Emperor Rosal has introduced a lot of things into their society that Klein finds familiar. This includes like tarot cards, card games, and whatnot that he recognizes from his previous life. It sort of gave a little indication to him that possibly this Emperor Russell was an isekai just like him, somebody that was also transported to this world. Well, after getting this notebook that Neil has that is the writings from this emperor, he discovers that, yes, the deciphered stuff in it, it's all simplified Chinese. So this clues Klein into the idea that, oh, this guy is from my world. It kind of plays this whole thing where this Emperor Russell was the actual protagonist kind of thing. But more importantly, in this text, this emperor sort of gives a warning through the fact that he made his own mistakes when he came to this world. He basically chose the wrong path as a Beyonder. He regrets the fact that he didn't choose something like apprentice, seer, or marauder. So Klein basically decides at this point, I'm going to follow the advice from my predecessor. I'm going to become seer, because that's the only one of those three that they list that this organization can actually unlock with their potions. So he decides to become a seer, which unlocks this divine eye, which, yes, seemingly gets a bit crazy here. After drinking the potion, he has to kind of do these different steps to sort of control his new ability that's being unlocked. One of the steps is that he has to imagine something that is of this world, which he does pretty easily. Then he has to envision something that is not of this world, which at that point, being somebody from, Earth, he decides to think of tons of different things. He's thinking about rockets, planes, and yes, even the entire world itself. At which point the doctor is getting a little panicky, like, hey, you're supposed to envision it, not bring it forth. And so he's basically trying to get Klein, hey, chill out, calm down, suppress your abilities, you're going to blow something up. To which he finally does. And what follows this is Klein does his first job with the organization, where he has to go out and find this kidnapped kid before he starts to see a lot of different visions that are kind of pulling him to something that Klein was involved with. The body that he's in currently, what that person was involved with. And that's basically a gist of the first two episodes. My gosh, that was a lot to go through, and I didn't even cover it all. Which really does get into my first point about my thoughts on this show so far. This is what's grabbing me. This is what's literally grabbed me. Like I said before, it technically is true. It's an isekai because he's brought to this world. It's Fate Stay Night because you have 22 different classes of different people, and they all have their different levels of power, and possibly which ones can do well against another one. I would assume there's probably a rock, paper, scissors sort of system here that sort of gives me the indication there based on what the Emperor said, that he wishes that he chose these classes. It's obvious that he chose something else that was probably trumped by these ones. He probably seen Seer as being the weakest because all you do is see into things, and there's probably something about it that's really powerful. My current prediction is because Klein seemingly already was a Beyonder. Again, when he did this ritual again, he transported it into this divine plane where he was able to control reality. There was this smoke there, and he was able to manipulate things. He was able to create furniture, move people around. He was essentially a god of that plane. They viewed him as a god. And so my thought process there, and they were kind of talking about it during that conversation, that he's a Beyonder. Oh, so that's my power. It's a Beyonder power. So I'm assuming that one of two things here. One is that he's able to unlock multiple pathways of Beyonder, multiples of these pathways of Divine, which is these different classes. And so, yes, he basically became that and a seer. The other theory that I have here is that because he was an isekai, the Beyonder powers that he manifests in that divine plane of manipulation is possibly what his past self has, and now Klein just got unlocked the ability of seer. And so my theory kind of adds on to the whole Emperor is the possibility, the regret that the Emperor had was that he was also an isekai. He probably also had that manipulation ability from his past self. And then this body of the Emperor, he made the mistake of going for something that wasn't going to utilize that well. So my theory here is that Klein essentially is going to have the seer ability, which allows him to sort of kind of see things and whatnot. And he possibly could then manifest it with his other Beyonder ability. It kind of gave a sense of that when he first awakened to his seer abilities. Again, he was envisioning objects, and it seemingly gave a sense that he was making them manifest using that other ability. Again, literally creating a world that seemingly looked like it was about to crush the world. That's kind of where I see things going, and I think that's probably the regret that this other guy had. There's a lot to really dig into with this whole thing, and that's the stuff that I'm really, really eating up. Again, that last thing that sort of mixes in there as well is the Sherlock Holmes thing. And that's really around a couple things here. One is the setting, got like a Victorian kind of setting here, which is really going well, a steampunk type of setting. The theme is great. Like, this setting is like, hello, Andrew's on board. I love it. The style of it, the character designs, the buildings and whatnot, everything, the technology. I just eat it up. So you have superpowers, isekais, class systems, divine powers, steampunk, Victorian. It's me. It's totally me. That's what kind of really initially grabbed me, and I'm like on board with this. And I love how much we're really getting into. We've had the first 2 episodes, which were technically like 32 minutes-ish without all the other stuff that's kind of tacked onto it. Like, we had like 30 seconds total of just intro screens. My gosh, I was just waiting for Tencent to pop up on the screen. It was like 32 minutes of pure, like, show. Like, just pure show. And it feels like after those, what is an hour at that point, there's so much information in my brain. Just going through a synopsis of it, I've skipped a ton of it. But it sort of gets me into where I'm sort of mixed a little bit. There is a lot flying at the screen. There's a lot of information, and I feel like a lot of it I'm kind of missing. Or maybe a lot of it is sort of assumed that you're getting it when it's referenced. There's a lot of mythology and whatnot they're getting into. Shoot, the whole pathway system for the longest time, I wasn't even understanding what they were talking about, because they're talking about 22, then over here they're saying 4, and then over here they're saying the formula name, which implies, like, I think 9. It's like, why are these numbers just flying up in my face? I don't know what you're talking about. There's a lot of information being thrown at you, and a lot of it, I feel like, it gets a bit muddy. I assume that's probably just sort of an adaptation issue, where they're going to assume that people know sort of the basics, or at least don't think a lot of this stuff is really necessary. So that could be, again, an adaptation issue. It could be a me problem. It could be a pacing issue. I don't really find that to be an issue, because I think I'm gathering what's going on. And I think as it kind of stretches its legs, go on to more episodes, I think I've seen things saying that they've already gotten pretty much 5 seasons in line. I think it's going to probably pan out just fine. I'm not upset, and I am absolutely loving what it's laid out so far. It's just got massive amounts of world building. Like, this writer, it feels like they have basically planned out some insane epic here that really does feel fleshed out. It feels consistent, and I eat up every bit of it. Now, my only actual issue that I have with the show so far is our main character, Klein. And again, this could be maybe an adaptation issue with cutting a little bit of the inner dialogue out. I can also see it as sort of a survival instincts aspect, but it feels like he accepts things way too easily. And that's sort of the only thing that felt really jarring about the show so far. A key example, and this was like the worst part of it, was this whole situation where, again, he does this ritual again. He appears in this divine plane or something like that. There's 2 individuals in front of him. And these 2 individuals are going, hey, are you the god of this place? Are you the creator of this place? Are you important here, whatever? And then suddenly he starts manifesting the tables, and they all sit down together, and they start talking about Beyonders and whatnot. And he very quickly starts to kind of jump onto things. And there's a lot of decisions that he makes where it's like, wait, so he knows exactly what's going to happen? Case in point, one of the 2 individuals, who calls herself Justice, she decides that she wants to, randomly decides, we made a great agreement here. He's going to sell me one of these potions to become a Beyonder. This is a great meeting. Can we meet again? I don't know why this girl randomly just shows up in this divine plane and says, hey, God that owns this place, I would like to have more meetings here. Don't know why she feels that she needs to come here again. It doesn't make any sense why she's even deciding that she wants to come to this place again. But that aside, this guy's like, yeah, we'll handle all the trivial things that you don't want to handle. Why? What are we talking about here? What? You guys just showed up here randomly, and you're like talking about wanting to have regular meetings here? Did you just suddenly become an organization? And Klein immediately goes, yes, we'll do that. Wait, you just did a ritual to try to return home, and you just ended up here. What is the assumption you're ever going to come back here again? It's like he suddenly has already made up his mind that he's going back to Klein's body and that he'll be able to come back here with a ritual. Like, nowhere in his mind is the fact that he's going to end up back at home on Earth. How does he know that he can even come to this plane again? How does he know that he can even summon them again? He gave no indication that he knew how they got there. Like, he's making all these, like, they're literally making like a supreme level meeting room out of nowhere that they're going to come back to for what reason? Like, there's a bunch of decisions made in that room that makes no sense. But that was probably the only, like, really bad point of it. Everything else really in his decision making is more of an element of survival. Like, I'm going to do this so I don't get people's attention. I'm trying to hide who I am. I don't want people to know who I am. If they dive into my mind, they might find out that I'm from another world. All this stuff is sort of, again, just that survival instinct kicking in. I got to make sure I cover my back. I got to make sure that I cover this. Yeah, how he knew this guy could see if he's lying or not. That's a big question mark there. Again, I feel like there's a lot here that he knows a bit too much, and that might actually be to the story. It implies the fact that he does have memories of Klein, the body that he is in. It's just scattered. And it's seemingly explained by the idea that this Klein guy, before he entered his body, he popped a bullet in there. So things are kind of scattered inside there. Even though it's healing, it's all kind of scattered in there. So an explanation of some of this stuff could be the idea that Klein once was in that plane. And thus, this new person inside of Klein is sort of playing off those memories a little bit. He knows a lot because he's tapping into those memories that are slowly kind of coming back together. So it's like one of those elements where it's like, I'm frustrated by this, but I can sort of explain it. And if that's what it actually is, that's actually kind of clever. So I want to be patient with it. Or somebody in the comments will yell at me that you just didn't understand it. Or actually, the source material, the source material actually, I cannot wait for the source material fans. By the way, I don't want spoilers down in the comments down below. You're going to do it anyways. People do it anyways. But that all aside, though, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving how much is in this world. This writer, my gosh, big brain stuff here. This guy has so much that he's kind of laying out, and it feels like it's all kind of coming together beautifully in the end. And it has me extremely excited for the idea that this could possibly have, again, 5 freaking seasons of this amazing stuff. Additionally, adding into the fact that this studio is doing insane. And again, a lot of that probably is the fact that Tencent money is behind it. Tencent is a big company with lots of mullahs, and they're obviously pumping it in there, and I'll take every single dollar of it. I'll take every visual dollar of it because it's good stuff. I mean, that's like the argument that a lot of people make about things around Ufotable. That Type Moon money, when they were making all that Type Moon stuff, this is the same case. This is Tencent money, and it shows. Again, like I said earlier, the only real kind of that I'm not really liking is the fact that there's a lot of these like big shots, these establishment shots, these visual spectacles of like the environment of the town or whatever, or maybe a hallway with candles. That's sort of like, you could see that CGI too much polished kind of thing. It doesn't match these characters that are in it. But I think a lot of these character designs themselves are very much so sharper and whatnot that I think it does sort of lend itself to the style, even if it is a little bit too sharp. Anyways, I'm pretty hyped for the show going forward. I will probably end up checking it out, despite the fact that I typically like to keep my channel to specifically anime. Yes, I have things like 2B Hero X, but I kind of excuse it because it's Aniplex that is at least producing it. I don't know. I like to keep to just strictly Japanese anime. Again, it's obvious that this is anime inspired, and it's probably a lot of people working on this that have done plenty of other Japanese anime before, at least animation. We'll see. We'll see if the next episode keeps my interest enough. I will probably jump back into it. I may cover it on a weekly basis. I think it probably will come down to if there's something in there I want to check out, and yes, if people want the videos. So if it's something you guys want to check out, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, support the channel. I greatly appreciate you guys' support. But until next time, y'all take care. And Tencent, please don't send your agents.